Easy breezy. Ladies, gentlemen, MBs, welcome to Warui Deshou's Stream of 4, covering Eizouken Episode 9. I'm Shadon. Joining me again, as always, is the Soul Doctor.
Hey fam, what's going on? Did you know that the SJWs are rooting Final Fantasy?
Really?
I mean,
do explain.
First it was Rage Against the Machine, and now it's Final Fantasy. They have these guys caring about the environment all of a sudden, right? I mean, they're one might think they were eco-terrorists or something weird like that. Fucking liberals changing shit up. What the hell, man?
I mean, next thing you're going to tell me that Public Enemy are completely apolitical.
They're supposed to be, right? I mean, that's what Flavor Flav told me. Personally, in a DM, right?
I mean, I'm going to say as well that Eizouken number 9 is the most apolitical anime episode of all.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nothing to say on the way in which, businesses fail due to prevailing economic conditions or anything like that. No. But anyway, you might notice there's a third window here, and you might notice that you may recognize him. Joining us once again is the indomitable Alex.
Howdy.
The chef is back.
Mr. King Shit himself.
Just imagine the fireworks going off behind me. We don't have the budget for it.
I would rather you did do that. I did recently, again, watch Ride Your Wave, and if there's one thing that Masaki Yuasa is trying to teach us, fireworks safety is very important. Don't be setting them off anywhere, inside, indoors, or in places that suspiciously look like they have the Tree of Life inside of it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about that particular Yuasa work. So we're back here to cover episode 9, which I believe is called Aim for Comets A, although really it should be called The Origins of Mini Mori. Because...
Mini to Maxi, a Kanamori story.
Yes.
Alexander, were you also... I don't want to say disappointed because Eizouken doesn't really disappoint us, but given the episode title, were you expecting some, gunbusterishness?
No, not particularly.
Oh, you were. Come on. Is this episode title called Aim for the X?
If Kanamori does the gunbusters pose in the next few episodes, I will die on the spot.
She could pull that off as well.
Maybe, maybe that's why they didn't do it. Like, too powerful.
Too powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it. Anime as an industry would be done for then. I mean, for all that Kanamori wants to keep anime going, or at least her own little group of animators, she would be the end of it all.
But Kanamori, if anything, is like, no, hard work and guts is not enough.
That's true. That's like you're right. I'd like to think maybe like the Eizouken girls themselves scrapped the plot of the episode. Kanamori's like, no, this is not what we're about.
To be fair though, Doc, you've missed that there are also two other possibilities for what this episode could be referencing. Could be the Kanamori Gassery. I don't know.
Fuck off.
Worth it. This also could in theory be a lost episode of Sarazamai.
There what Kappas were mentioned. I kept, I wrote it in my notes. Capitalism. Yeah.
I mean, as soon as I saw the Kappa thing, I was just like, no, keep walking, girls.
Were you looking for Kepi in the background like me? I definitely was.
I was just thinking, like Mizuzaki says to Asukusa, like, did you hear the word Kero then? Repeated over and over. I'm like, no, keep walking, keep going. We're fine.
I'd like to think that Kepi was meant to be in this episode, but he was just too high and did not make the screening.
Kanamori as a Toji Kappa with a bandana would be great, though.
Dude, that would rule.
I'd love to see Kanamori being interviewed by Reo Mabu. I reckon she would completely and utterly just own them. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, she can't be allowed in that universe. I feel like the power imbalance is too much.
This is true. All right,
she just crushed the... who were the bad guys? Was it the otters? She would just fucking throttle them and be like, get along, okay? We don't have time for this shit. And then throw them back in the water.
This is not conducive to good business.
Yes, exactly. You're creating inefficiencies.
God, I think that would have to be Kanamori's heel turn though, because she would side with the otters.
You're right. Shit, you're totally fucking right.
We would have to have a Kanamori redemption arc.
Oh God.
Which would make it the greatest show in the world.
This is true. This is true. All right, so today, folks, we're going to talk about the episode, go through the plot, have a little couple of, crack a couple of jokes, couple of sides, and then get into some, nice meaty discussion. Because I think there's plenty to talk about here today, not just in terms of Kanamori's backstory, but also in other elements as well, like how, I mean, you and I, Alex, like we've been together, as a matter of fact, to actually one or two nice little bars in our time, and I got a very strong vibe, like from the stuff that Kanamori was talking about with visiting places like the Fruit Ramen Bar, like. Man, I need to visit places like that more because otherwise they just disappear, and that sucks. Am I right?
Yeah, like I really liked that you could see that the ramen bar was already on an incline before they walked in.
Nice, already on a downward slope, if you will.
Fuck off.
Sad. It's sad.
Damn! Return of Shadon here to defend the title.
I'm sorry, but you threw down with me last week, and it's only fair that I respond in kind.
Well, at least
You
if this
love to see it.
at least if this whole anime thing falls through, then Kanamori can basically be Japanese Guy Fieri. Her own like diners, drive-ins, and dives. I mean, she finds a new fucking hole in the wall every couple weeks.
She's Jonathan Gold, basically.
Replace Anthony, like fill the void in my life that Anthony Bourdain has left. Kanamori, please.
Man. That's a lot to ask, to be fair.
Well, Kanamori is up for it. Let me tell you, she's not. But to be fair, she's not the next Anthony Bourdain. She's the first Sayaka Kanamori.
That's a fair point.
True.
That's true. All right, so Doc, I believe you've got Twitter up. Let's go over the polls from last week.
All right. So if you don't know how this works, every episode we do Twitter polls live when we're streaming, and you can vote on them during then. And we will update the polls at the end of the episode, but they will be up for a whole week so that if you are watching on demand or whatever, you can vote on them. And then we check in on them next episode, which is what we're doing now. So these are the polls from episode 8. Poll number 1. Again, these are voted on by you, I must stress, you the fans.
What, are you trying to say that you're already disagreeing with me?
Wash my hands of these polls. No. Did Kanamori cross the line by stating that whatever was necessary to benefit the production in the long run had to be done? Paraphrased. 54% say, nah, that was fine. 38% say it was a bit much, and only 6.5% declared that it went into George Wada territory.
This is one of those polls that doesn't age very well because I feel like people would answer differently with the context we get in this episode of her backstory.
There seems to be a trend with your polls.
It's like the people making this show watch our show, as it turns out.
And
that assumes, of course, they turn it all around in a week and do it entirely to our... Maybe a bit presumptuous.
Listen,
like that.
We're emotional about the things we watch. We may be a bit reactionary, but that's all right. We're fans, too. But I agree with the poll. I think it was fine. Do you disagree this week?
I think it was with the context of of this episode. I think it actually makes perfect sense for her to feel the way she does.
Totally.
Oh sure. Now that we are informed as to her tragic backstory, Doc is all for the
No. Listen, go back and listen to last week's.
The only glasses I wear are hindsight brand, mate.
Man, and I didn't even
2020, a Kanamori fragrance.
I did not even, though I mentioned, I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that all the talk of parents made me think, where are Sayaka's parents? I didn't even necessarily want a Kanamori backstory, but I am really glad we got it. And Shadon will talk us through that in a moment. But for now, poll 2. Best stealth action sequence, ?
Oh my god.
There's a lot of contenders.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Because, again, the poll has not aged well because someone put out an amazing, edit on the actual clip of Mizuzaki sneaking through the fair, set to Metal Gear Solid's alert theme with the UI.
I think it means it did age well. I think you just were...
But I saw the results.
Foresight,
People were not voting very highly for Shadow Moses. But clearly someone, had the inspiration for it.
Yeah. Look, it's Eizouken Shibahama just did it better. They wore it better. They've surpassed their forebear.
An anime to surpass Metal Gear.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So 65% voted for that. Runners-up were Liberty Island, Deus Ex, Ocean's 11, Casino Heist, and Metal Gear Shadow Moses, all coming in at sub 20%. Poll trois. Did you finish this episode with a more favorable, spelled with a U so you know who wrote this, opinion of Miyazaki's parents than when you started?
Innocent as fuck, me, honestly. Butter wouldn't melt.
Yep, better opinion. Grabbed 82.1%. And 14.3% said about the same, and somehow 3.6% said they have a worse opinion about Miyazaki's parents after the episode.
Did they comment? Because I want to hear those opinions.
No follow up on this. Just the vote. But yeah, the Mr. and Mrs. Mizuzaki came off quite well. Not as perfect parents, but as people that cared and realized their faults.
Yeah, flawed individuals.
Poll 4. Do you think when Mizuzaki notes to her parents that they are also actors, does that mean she thinks they don't genuinely approve of her making anime? That's a real pretzel of a sentence, Shadon. I have to say that was.
I write pretzels.
I would like to note that I was against this from the start.
You were, yeah.
Listen to the tapes.
The video evidence.
The pod is available for you all.
Is there. So, 62.5% said no, that Mizuzaki doesn't think that they don't approve of her. So, poll 5.
Now you're speaking like Shatner.
Yeah, I'm like trying to edit out like a lot of I'm trying to condense it in my brain. I apologize. Poll number 5. Was it ever explained why Mizuzaki was dressed like a manta ray? No. This is a very matter-of-fact sort of poll. No, we got 93.3%. 6.7% say yes, and again, please, if you did vote yes in this poll, follow up with us, because I would love to know where it explains it. And those are the polls.
All right, then. So thank you very much, everyone who took part in the polls. We'll be doing more as this particular episode goes along. Do feel free to check them out at Warui Deshou on Twitter. They'll be running for a week. Get involved in the democratic process. Even though, as we've learned, throughout doing Eizouken, the polls will be out of date by the time the next episode comes out anyway, so screw it. You might as well go hog wild. Pick whatever one you want. It's great.
No. Well, yes, pick whatever one you want. I thought you were saying just randomly
Poll
click.
number 5. Do the structures of polls hold any integrity in the uncertain future of this anime viewing market?
Mm-hmm. What layer comes after A? That old joke. All right, Dob, do you have any info on the creatives for this week?
I do indeed. So episode number 9, as you have said, is Aim for Comet A, or Kometo Awo Mezase. And
nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's why he made the Gunbuster reference.
The physical pain that went across your face then. Do you want an ibuprofen? Maybe 2.
No, I'm good.
He's more of a Tylenol person.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
I didn't have Tylenol here.
Here as in the Netherlands, or here as in your home?
Both.
Yeah,
No, Tylenol is not in the Netherlands. Is that true?
Tylenol.
Okay, fair.
It is true.
Okay, so there's 2 occupants of the director's chair this week. I believe that is only the 3rd time that's been the case, but it means more work for more aspiring creators over at Science Saru, so that is a good thing. We have Takuya Fujikura as one of the directors, and Karen Noguchi as the other. And Fujikura has a very, very tiny CV. It looks like they were involved in the production production advancement for the second season of Mr. Osmatsu. The opening, the ending, and episode 5. Production advancement for how do you pronounce this? I have to like
type it out in our little chat here, Doc, and we'll give it a
try.
Is
it so? It's spelled like lowercase e with a line over it.
Okay.
Lowercase l, capital D-L-I-V-E. Eldlive, but Eildlive, because there's like a line over the E. I don't know. It's a very recent robot show. I think it's a robot show.
I've not had nearly enough to drink in order to attempt to pronounce that, I can slur my words pretty well as is, but I need actual alcohol to go to that next level.
What is the where are the genres? Science fiction. So I guess maybe not mecha. That's a rough one, man. So anyway, they worked on that in production advancement as well, and Super Shiro directed episode 7. I feel like everyone who's worked on this show, at least that we've pointed out, has been involved with Super Shiro. So I'm gonna have to check this out. And Noguchi-san has done some work on a lot of really high-profile stuff. It looks like that they have done a lot of work for Toei, because we got some Precure stuff here, an in-betweener on a couple different Precure movies, an in-betweener on the Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods movie, which I like quite a bit, and then you got your One Piece, 4 different Precure movies, Super Shiro again, and did some Flash animation for Lou Over the Wall, which I assume is where she came into the orbit of Yuasa-san and co. And those are your directors for episode 9.
Excellent. All right, so let's talk about the plot of the episode. And it begins with a Dragon's Den style meeting here between Kanamori and the student council in a moment which reminded me of all things of Watchmen. There's the scene of Rorschach in the prison where, he says, I'm not locked up in here, you're locked up in here with me. And that was basically...
Question. I have a question, teacher, sensei. I'm raising my hand. What is Dragon's Den?
So Dragon's Den is this kind of British reality TV show that I barely have ever watched.
It's Shark Tank.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, okay, right. We're good.
Thank
All
you
right.
for being
perfect.
Thank you for bringing the bridge here. Thank
Okay.
you, Alex. You've saved me there from having to go into massive reams of detail. But yeah, Kanamori has been asked to explain, to the student council why she is getting rent from Sakura Brewery. Sound Brew in I think it must be a deliberate shout out to the Saga community. I can't
Totally.
see anything.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
they're taking credit. They're taking credit for it. Let me just say that.
Why not? Why
yeah,
not?
exactly. Of course you
would. I would. Maybe we should ask Kevin to come on the podcast at one point and just ask him if he's actually, siphoning off rent money from clips of animation. Is that how he's paying for his electricity bill? Is he what keeps the lights on? I don't know.
Kevin is actually running a protection racket on Science Star.
He's just going around in the inner city where he lives, and he's got this giant trench coat. And he says, "You want some cells? Got some cells."
Some cells. Gosh, Anime News Network, follow up these spurious rumors. Please report in.
So yeah, turns out that Kanamori has been allowing Domeki to sell the audio clips online for money, and has been taking some of that as rent for storage. And that was all agreed in the previous episode, so no real surprises there. She goes back to see the Eizouken girls again, and this is the point where she basically lays out, okay, we sold X amount of copies, and do you want to know how much we made from all of them? A complete and utter pittance, because all of the rights are still with the original club. So they got the majority of the funding. We could have made, based on the hourly wage of 1,000 yen, we could have made from our labor 1.8 million. And the only thing that was wrong with this scene, in my opinion, was that Asuka's eyes didn't actually go any wider, because mine certainly did looking at that.
Yeah.
Number. Holy shit!
Have you got the conversion of?
It's $10. $10 an hour. $10.
No. The 1.8 million.
We could have made $10.
That would have been enough to get me a burrito.
I mean, the animation industry is very difficult. But no, like but like even if we were making as little as $10 an hour, we could have made 18,000.
Yes, that's no small potato.
And they made what, 20,000, I think, even after fees and all the DVD sales and everything, which is a couple $100 maybe. I feel like, oof.
Yeah, that's pretty grim. So Kanamori ends the pre-OP section by saying what I think is basically one of the theses of this episode, which is that the Eizouken needs money to survive, although you can replace Eizouken with anything really, but we'll get to that later. So she's going to take them out to lunch, and in doing so, she's taking them across Shibahama, and naturally Mizuzaki and Asuka are going around like, oh my god, missiles launch out this thing, or oh, it's the SimCity monster, happening here. I mean, I wasn't expecting that to be turned into an anime, but here we are. And they're going along, noticing all the idiosyncrasies of all the layouts, like, hey, here's this bridge, but there's no water over it. By the way, Zoo has just played out, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. The Carbohydrates Club are back again with their electric.
I mean, like what's the title of the short they wanted? It's Electromagnetic Amoeba World.
After
awesome.
all.
This is the now officially, we're going to rename us. We're no longer Warui Deshou. We're the Electromagnetic Amoeba Cast.
Hey, that's, if ever I organize a stag do, that's what I'm going to call the group. So there you go. But yeah, they're going out.
Everybody looks like formless blobs by the end of that night.
Well, it's true. It's true. Some people more quickly than others, depending on how much they drink. But anyway, so they're going through town, and this is also where they find the shrine to the Kappas, which, of course, again, insert your own Sarazumai joke here. They're all good. But Soya. Are you not joining on that one, Alex? No?
I wasn't expecting it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So good. It sounds like they're chanting Tom Sawyer, by the way.
To be fair, though, it is a two-man act, that one, so you're okay.
Kanamori is the only one who would be chanting Tom Sawyer.
Fair enough. But the Kappas themselves are actually also something to take note of with the theme of this episode and what Kanamori's whole idea is of what her perspective on life, and particularly, looking after the things she cares about. We'll come back to that a bit. Anyway, they go into an underground mall after noticing like all the upper shopping area is pretty deserted. Like, they go inside this fruit ramen shop, which,
so bizarre.
As Alex noted, is also on an incline. So you get some strange quirks with this place. Like, they don't serve any broth with the ramen because it all spills out, or at least just a little bit of it. Noted by Asuka's, like, with the observation of putting a set of toothpicks on this, like, roll. Which is just... she's on point with that one. And there's a lot of discussion here about, like, hey, this is unusual, but it works, like, with this food. That's Kanamori actually explaining in her own little way, like, I'd argue their own creative process, funnily enough, and like how they're blending all these random things together that actually end up really working out if you put some thought into it.
The things that work better when they're actually toned down and you kind of don't notice them. If they're sort of felt too much, it spoils like that. Yeah, it is very meta. Really, are they talking about the food? Or are they talking about the production?
I mean, it's specifically a fruit tantan men shop, which is a more closer to the Chinese origins of ramen type of style, which is this very complex, spicy, like earthy kind of ramen. Like you see that you can still, like, even though it doesn't have the broth, you can still see like the ground meat on top of all of the fruit ramen styles. And so it's like it's more about the fruit is actually this like added weight in this already very precarious balance.
I don't call
Which
him.
I just realized it's not a pun. The balance is off kilter, but it works.
Yeah, we don't call him the chef for nothing. He's got the knowledge, folks.
Yeah, I made burgers yesterday. Don't I feel proud? I kid. But yeah,
I only told you how to do that 3 years ago.
I know. Yeah. Did you follow Alex's recipe from the podcast?
Yeah, it was a very, very long, slow cooker, 4 years worth in there, and it finally came out okay.
Did you sous vide it for 4 years?
Oh yes, it was all right.
Amazing. It's okay.
I need to see the Mythbusters episode where they put something in a sous vide for a year.
Oh man, does that exist? That's tremendous
Comes
television.
out like a lump of coal, I suspect.
It probably comes as a bacteria colony, but
and
you're not
the
wrong.
origins of the coronavirus have been revealed.
Oh no. Well, that's it. Beep. First coronavirus joke of the night.
Yeah. Was that was that
I'm
a
not
too,
going along with
was that a too soon? I apologize.
No, I'm just. We've not decided if there needs to be a penalty box.
no, it just wasn't funny.
No.
Oh.
Burn.
Damn. Anyway, so
An
the reason
electric
they're also
amoeba.
there, the reason they're also there is because they're talking to the purveyor of the shop, who actually was at the festival and purchased one of the DVDs. And he suggests the idea of, hey, what if these, there's a guy who works in a ramen shop, not like me. I totally suggest he's not like me. He's just a completely unrelated person, but he's also a secret agent. Crazy idea, crazy. So having taken,
I was sad he wanted to be a cop.
I know.
I
He's
was so
making great-
disappointed.
of all the career paths, honestly. But yeah, they finish up dinner and they go back out into the streets. And this is where they start discussing ideas to expand on the UFO invasion premise that they come up with. This is also where we get the most screenshotted single frame from this entire anime and probably any anime of this year, which is there is nothing fun about social media. I've seen that at least 5 times from 5 different people. And I knew as soon as I saw that, I was like, I can't screenshot this myself. I can't. Like, but yeah, they're also now going into the social media element of things here and how they're trying to promote merchandise. Kanamori even makes a specific comment that, hey, you know what? We sell a DVD for 1,000 yen. What if I put your face on a t-shirt for 2,000 yen?
The sad part is, like, it's not even Miyazaki's face. It's like we can just put like our studio emblem on a shirt for $2,000.
Yeah.
And just the amount of revenue to make that shirt possible, but also the amount of work to make that shirt possible is tremendous. But then this selling that shirt, the revenue is so much more than the actual anime.
It's crazy.
I have a lot to say about this when the time comes.
Mm-hmm. That also reminds me, Doc, we're never putting the emoji of me doing the thinking sign on a t-shirt.
Damn.
I know.
That was potentially a big seller. I'm very sad about that.
Oh well, I mean,
Gotta go back to the drawing board here.
we just sold maybe 2 or 3.
I know, a big seller.
Well, they've all been mine. I'd have been one trying them out to make sure they all fit. But anyway, so as they're going along having this discussion, there's more references to Kappas in shop signs, by the way, which again will be important later. Not for the Sarazumaya reason, I should stress. Different thing. This is the point where Kanamori delivers her Henry V moment and turns around and says, I once saw something like the downfall of a liquor store. I don't have the exact line here, but she's indignant about it, by God. And, well, we've had discussions about this. We finally get Kanamori's Grace's world. Except that... Well...
It's just reality because she has no imagination.
Except for no. Yeah. What could be classed as in a very loose sort of sense, like, but this is the point where she's like, doing the same sort of creative, like, synthesis thing to basically relate her history.
Yeah, she does create an imaginary space.
That's right. So this liquor store was something that she worked at when she was much younger. It's one owned by her relatives, but over time, urban development meant that people stopped going there. Like there was less footfall overall, which is also important why she is so fond of the fruit ramen.
The government is letting down the fucking tiny shops.
I like that in the Eizouken universe, the monorail guy got to Shibuya.
Oh man, I know exactly which one you're thinking of as well.
Oh, and they said that they'd never completed the monorail to go there, and the trains aren't running there anymore. Like,
see,
it's just so like it's like these like little these decisions that people in the high places make or don't make can affect so many people. It's so sad.
Well, what was Shibahama previously known as? Was it North Haverbrook? No, that's a reference for you there.
That's the one.
If you explain it to me,
you have to.
It's one of the towns that the monorail guy from Simpsons says that he previously built a monorail at.
Okay, sure.
I've never heard you sound so depressed.
Well, you haven't. We haven't talked enough, obviously.
Oh dear. But anyway, so we get Kanamori's history here, and indeed, I love comment here that it's mini Mori, a thing that I didn't think was actually physically possible.
Chibi
given how
Mori.
tall she is.
Wait. Hold on. One thing before we get into the mini Mori. I like that the her introduction of the liquor store looks like she's in a Doom level.
Yes.
And then when the monorail gets, it's like they're doing SimCity blocks. So clearly, Kanamori is a PC gamer.
Master Race.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're
Take
both.
a shot.
I'm glad that we're both in stereo and in agreement.
Yeah, we both read the same shitty gaming websites.
Oh my god. So
also did the art style of this. I don't think you've seen it, Shadon, but I don't know if you've seen it, Alex, but My Neighbors the Yamadas. Like,
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, at least.
The tone, if not the character, does that, like, just the like watercolorness of it. I guess you could say Kaguya, but something about the grounded, things being depicted made me think more.
It feels
Yamadas.
appropriate for memories more than anything, like because of how washed out it is. Like things do fade over time, so
I mean,
kind of
same
makes
art
sense.
style as the other imaginary world. It's just that we don't have the fantastical thing to ground
Yes,
into.
that's right. So over time, the liquor store just became a regular 7-Eleven of sorts, and we get to see Kanamori say out loud, "Oh, pensions weren't enough, so I wanted to start helping by
Pensions.
Yeah, I know.
Tiny
pensions.
baby thinking about pensions.
Mini Mori is a zoomer.
Yes, I think we can all agree on that. There's no need for you to make that a poll, dog. It's true. It's true. But yeah, she's essentially helping out the store to try and drum up some more revenue for them because she thinks, and as it turns out will be correct, that what they're earning currently is enough to sustain the place. But we get to see some things like about how she starts like, hey, you know what? There's a snowstorm, but there are people walking past outside. Why don't we open up? Why don't we sweep out, the snow from in front of the vending machine? Showing the eye for business that we've seen all along, but even at a young age, although I think is it her uncle or her grandparents? I can't recall.
You said relatives. So.
Relatives.
Okay, I was not clear on how they're related, if they were at all. Didn't know.
We'll go with family then. So her family know that she's not got a head for math, which I don't know. I think she learned that over time. It seems, but
she compensated for.
Yeah. I love this detail that you like. I don't know. It's a very particular thing. Like most people that are business savvy or whatever are good at math, but she just happens to not be. But as you say, she has all these other different. It's just a totally different skill set that is so S tier that it more than compensates for her lack of math. Also, in my headcanon, those people are not related to her at all. She's just doing this for a bunch of strangers. That's how I absorbed it when I first watched it.
Spurious. But in a moment that I felt was straight out of the ending of Wolf of Wall Street, where he says, "Sell me this pen," and he's like, "Okay, write your name down. Now you need this pen." Kanamori actually manages to give gloves to this guy and wrap them with regular blue gloves to sell them for profit. You sold one pair for 200 yen when a whole pack of them costs X amount. It's crazy.
Kanamori could sell tanning lotion in the desert.
She could. She absolutely could. It's crazy. So she's, making all these suggestions to draw up business for the convenience store, even though there is this massive snowstorm going on, which, by the way, she'd actually noted that earlier that, the underground mall that she was at earlier with the fruit ramen shop also closes during the snowstorm as well. So this is even ahead of time. We're getting hints that she's leading up to going into this tale of hers. And so, yeah, they do drop a bit of business. They've got a couple of people coming in. She's handing out ramen and all that. And then the bombshells drops. We're closing next month anyway. We're in the red. That's it. And we cut to white space, which, that's her world.
Trauma.
It's gone. She knows it's going to disappear. There's going to be nothing left.
Most characters...
Revenge upon me!
Most characters' sad backstories involve the death of a parent, death of a pet. This is the death of a small business. Just very dramatic.
Where will I get my maker's mark from now?
She's a child...
Kanamori.
a child that had we been in a different timeline.
Kanamori finally grew tall because she stopped drinking liquor and she started drinking milk.
She had to. But no, she was made for capitalism, is what I was trying to say. Like,
oh man,
she was born into the correct bad timeline. She has the skills to survive.
Oh, we got things on that to say
she's
later.
Not the hero. She's the hero we deserve and the hero we need.
Yes. But yes, it turns out that they can't keep open, and there's detailing here from I'm going to go with her uncle here, just for the sake of saying that, about all the various factors that go into the running of a story, even like, the fact that stock has to be turned over, otherwise some of it goes off over time. And if you're getting deja vu watching that scene, how many times have we seen Kanamori go into laborious detail about all the various needed to make a functioning anime studio? It's the same kind of discussion, just with different, components to go into it, so to speak. But yeah, she's clear on this. Like, hey, you can make a great show all you want, do all that, it's fine. But if no one walks past it, no one sees it, no one looks at it, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
You like to harp on this point about audience, so I felt like they were very much speaking to you here.
It's true though. It's absolutely
no. You're
true.
right. Yeah.
Indeed, that's why they even go into what is basically because they need to go and have a different market to sell to in order to generate more revenue and also to have some control over their own production.
I mean, it's also the opposite of what Masaki said. I have to do it for myself. Kanamori is like, no,
I'm doing it for others.
You can't.
Exactly, because it's not enough to do that. Like, it won't sustain you. So this is where Asakusa takes over now and starts detailing the plan for the UFO invasion, going into all of the
Kanamori be reading some John Rawls. That's all I'm saying.
All the details of the town, like the rising mall, all the weaponry built up into it, and they have a discussion like about Asakusa's like really into lasers, and I felt really taken aback because I was like, I actually have to disagree with her and say it's not all like lasers can be fine. You don't need to be so hung up on the details.
Realism, dude. It's gotta be real.
Like there's no laser that can be seen by the human eye, and I'm like, oh good god. Look, I know you've got a stickler for detail, but come on, lasers are cool.
I actually really like this because Asakusa has already in way back in episode 3 already showed that she could throw away realism when she needed to. It was like, oh yeah, there's no sound in space, I'm gonna keep that, but hey, would like this magnetic paint like actually appear? It's like, whatever, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think she has Sorry, go ahead. No, you finish.
So this is just something she particularly feels important about. Like, this is part of the tone of the world, is that the lasers work for real things. And I think it's in part because even though she doesn't know it yet, she wants to tie it into the what were they, like the steam tanks, the blimps. She has like this sort of weird steampunk aesthetic. One gradient shy of steampunk aesthetic going on. And if you had visible lasers, like that would ruin it. It would just be a hodgepodge. But if you have the impression that shells are being fired, even though they're lasers, you get to keep that.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's about consistency, I suppose, more than anything else, rather than just throwing things in willy-nilly.
Yeah, I think it's all about, like, to me, how she felt about it. And I think it was an important moment for her, and that those other things she might not have felt as strongly about, but like she, had that conviction about this thing combined with something that the other people were saying to her. I feel like it gave her kind of an epiphany, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But like, this was a big moment for her. Yeah.
So we then learn later the way they eventually end up getting his finance, because unfortunately Kanamori did actually capitulate to the council, which I didn't think that would happen. Not without actual bloodshed and violence, of which I think Doc is about to commit because he seems to have left suddenly without any prompting. He's just be out fist fighting a bear or some shit like that. I don't know. But as it turns out, he's Kanamori, that is, has actually gone to the local councillors in the civic council to a redevelopment fund to get the money from them to finance the Eizouken's next projects, which, as it turns out, ties into everything that she's been telling about, local independent, producers, shops, etc., etc. So clearly, knows a lot about it and is very passionate about that stuff. And I can certainly get behind that myself. And then we of course come back to the actual, hey, we're going to start building this world. Like, Asuka's already going ahead, but she's actually now starting to like really hammer out the details. I mean, I love that little image of them putting the gun sort in place. That was.
I love it that she's just like, Asuka, what you have so far, and it's just her building a brick wall.
You're right. Speaking of which, in this scene, we also get the amazing where I can't redo it. Like,
Or what did you say?
The Asakusa dance, like when she's like, okay, I want it to sound like this instead.
Oh yeah, no, the expression work is like really fun and cartoonish. Like everyone's just going along with her. She looks like a South Park character in the best way for like half of that like little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, I've just actually come onto a frame now where has no neck, and it's great. She's just such a little gremlin, like that. Yeah, exactly. Or like me normally. But anyway, so. Yeah, they're going through more discussion on this, but this is where Asuka actually then comes on to the idea of performance. And it's kind of interesting to think about like how after all this time, like, and having made 2 projects now, this is the first time she's come to this realization. But she really wants to show off her, like, now it's like more pumped to show off her Grace's world, as she calls it. And that's basically the end of the episode. They're now getting underway with the actual projects. You look very like you've got something to say, Alex.
No, I'm just watching Doc, seeing what he's doing. Like there he is. Hello.
Did you steal that from someone?
I just brought. It's been on my shelf the whole time. You loser.
He robbed somebody for their lunch money and their little trunk.
So I got future Trunks from Super, importantly, because his hair is blue rather than purple. It's a key difference. But yeah, he's here to help me through this traumatic episode.
Traumatic episode?
It's rough,
Were you watching Made in Abyss by accident?
There were rough parts of this. No, this is a great episode.
Oh my god. All right. So anyway, that's our... Sorry, go on.
No, sorry. That triggered in me the connection that Made in Abyss is also actually about the violence of greater structures made physical by the hell that is the Abyss, of which this episode makes them also apparent.
Indeed,
through
like
Kanamori imagination.
Like, for example, the verticality of the classroom built even to that is so fucking dumb. Anyway, that's an Made in Abyss discussion for a different time. Right, so do you want to give up talking points now for the actual episode?
Yeah, we can get into that. Are you... Who are you passing the baton to first?
Oh, right. It's time to whip out my wallet again. All right, heads is Alex, tails is Doc. Here we go. All right, it's heads.
That was me, right?
No, you're correct.
Yes, indeed. Guess should go first. Anyway.
Fair
It was
enough.
a loaded coin anyway.
Two-Face strikes again.
So mean.
No, I really love this episode for a lot of reasons, and partially because it reframes what Kanamori is actually about, and that is she's a cutthroat go-getter because she's found out firsthand that good people in this world aren't good at protecting their own interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good point.
And like when her world goes white in that like little segment, it's like it hurts so much.
I know.
This is what I mean about being the trauma, like of a child. Like, I mean, I made capitalism jokes and et cetera, but like when a little kid, has such a dramatic change like that, like the rug pulled out from under them in that sort of way, that's really hard. I mean, it's akin to moving, when you don't want to move when you're that age, but it's probably even worse because I don't know. This is sort of like a death. I mean, it's sort of like you're saying your world ending, and I talk on here all the time about how children's problems are real problems, and we should treat them that way because studies show that they feel equivalent levels of stress and anxiety that we do to our own adult problems. Like, just because this perspective and scale seem different to us doesn't mean that they're not experiencing them in a really deep, painful kind of way. So, like, yes, like, sorry to interrupt you, Alex. I just wanted to emphasize, like, this was a gut punch, man.
Yeah. And the thing for me as well is that, like, she was succeeding in her own way. Like, how does that feel at any age, I would argue? So, hey, you're doing everything right. You're even going beyond the call of duty, arguably. I mean, if it was like that outside in that kind of snowy condition, I'd probably be like, fuck that noise, I'm not doing that. So Kanamori does everything right and goes even beyond that. And it's still not enough. It's probably not even close to being enough.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And here's the thing. Kanamori did everything. Like, she had phenomenal people skills, she had business sense, and she had moxie. And she was there every damn day. And you know what? And you know what that did to Kanamori? Kanamori was short as shit. She was mini Mori.
Yes.
Do you know what she did after this? She got smart. She compensated for math. She went to sleep, and she went to sleep long every day of life. She stopped. She never stopped working hard, but she started playing smart.
Be more efficient. Yeah, using that time well. I'd agree. And
became a social media maven.
Exactly. But do you know what else I really love about this? Just to expand the point, Alex. Like, I think it's reasonable to say that I don't think Kanamori is unfriendly, quote unquote, but rather I think the way I would describe her is as intense. Would you agree with me?
Totally. I think that's a great adjective, by the way, to use for her.
Yeah.
As a child. Yes.
So you can think, in a sense, like, from everything we've seen thus far, that she might not care per se about the Eizouken. She does, but it seems to be very clinical in a kind of way, you know, like very fiscal, very money minded. Like, we've got to do this in this amount of time, like, you know, being very pragmatic. But I mean, apart from obviously taking them to the bathhouse like she did previously, which I think was her unspoken way of giving them some downtime, I think what this goes to show is that the reason she's doing all this is because she does care so deeply about the pair of them and the group that they've got going. Like, it's her own way of showing that she has a deep connection to it, even if she would never outright say to them, to their faces, that that's the case. Much the same with the fruit place. So, yeah, I think that this is a really, really nice way of showing her she deeply cares about the Eizouken without actually sanding off any of her edges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like that. It's like, even in her backstory, she already loved the grift. Like, she was already doing the hustle. Like, I really like that the uncle is looking at her as like, damn, she's got a head for business, and then it gives her like a bit. He doesn't give her like some money. He gives her business opportunities, and like, that's the first time we see her smile in that entire flashback.
Yeah.
She was. Are you saying this was the first ever time in Kanamori's life she was paid an exposure?
No, she wasn't paid an exposure. She was paid in venture capitalism.
That's right. I'm not going to pay you.
So
what I'm going to do is give you this bottled water kit, and you can.
She was the manager of the franchise.
That's right. It's the pyramid scheme. She became the Avon lady. It's so bad. No, I understand what he was trying to do. This is a completely different. I'm totally kidding. This is a kid learning.
Just because
doing something he's good at.
Are predatory and weighted sometimes doesn't mean that both parties aren't getting something out of it.
That's true.
Like, I think the thing I was getting to, and the thing I really like about this is that Kanamori was always at the same time sharply self-interested and also like deeply caring about the thing. Like, the fact that she could use that this place was her main hustle doesn't mean that she didn't care about the people working there or the business in itself.
Yeah.
And and the fact that she looks at Masaki and Asakusa and goes like, money, doesn't mean that she doesn't care about their well-being. Like, she's there just as much to keep them from careening off into an artistic cliff and, you know, driving off the edge as she is in order to get all of that sweet merch deals.
Exactly. The dollar signs in her eyes are not at their expense.
Yeah, she's
The
like,
dollar-
she is
she-
like, you know, the capitalism jokes and truths are that it is very like inhuman kind of machine, but this is a lot of the entrepreneuring spirit, but humanized, embodied in a person. So yes, she's thinking about money, but she actually, as you so eloquently put, Alex, like she really gives a shit about all the people involved in the money making venture. Key difference.
Absolutely. I mean, if I may, the whole fruit ramen place, like I throughout my adult life have been to a couple of like different clubs, pubs, diet eating places, etc., that no longer exist. There was one actually in Manchester called Jilly's Rock World, which was an amazing, amazing metal club. It is the one place I have heard
told me
described.
about this, yeah.
Yes, it's the one place I've heard described where it smelled actually worse after the smoking ban that happened in like 2007. And that unfortunately shut down in 2010, and there's never been anything quite like it since then. But that's where I met so many amazing people and also had some really great nights as well. And they ain't coming back. Admittedly, that would partly also be because of my age since then. But even then, like, you know, I can think of at least 2 different noodle joints that I've been to that have now shut down, independently owned, independently financed, but they just didn't have the footfall for it. And the funny thing is, I want to know while we're here, a lot of detail is spent in this episode from Asuka's and Mizusaki's part on, like, you know, the strange, like, eccentricities of the city layout, like the bridge that goes over no water or the underground mall. And I really like how that's a build up to Kanamori's point that it doesn't matter how good your product is if no one sees it. And a lot of that can simply just be the function of where you're situated physically if you're running a physical brick and mortar business.
Oh, the wrecking focus when she says that, and it goes to an out of business sign. Like,
yeah,
it's so...
yeah, exactly. It's so true, and that's also why she's now going into social media because they obviously wouldn't really. I mean, they're going to go Comic-Con, they're going to do physical sales. That is a part of it, but she's covering all the angles here. She wants to be able to sell stuff online. And I think that's a fine move to make, but that's also why I think she's very fond of the fruit ramen place. Beyond it just simply being good in its own right and unique and interesting, it is something worth preserving. But also, it's just kind of out of the way. Like you'd never probably go past it if you weren't walking through there. I can think of tons of places in Manchester that I go to that I'm really fond of that just aren't well situated to get more people through the door than otherwise. Like, I mean, Alex, you and I, we went to that place called the Not Bar, if you remember. That's where we met. That's not on any like main footpath really into Manchester for people, even though it serves some of the best alcohol in the actual city, in my opinion, which is a crying shame. But it's true. I say, you know, product can be as good as you want. People aren't walking through the door. Oh, fucking mad, does it?
Hence the need to get on Twitter, as it were, and post Mizusaki's face on shit.
Deal with the...
Yes, the Faustian bargain with Jack.
My favorite thing about that scene was when Mizusaki was worrying about, you know, being the face of the company again, and then she showed her the Twitter account, and what being the face of the company actually means is that all of Mizusaki's best cuts are just on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
We're just posting little webms of your shit. That's the important thing.
It's true. It's true. All right. So, kind of gone through a couple of different points there. I have a point about the Kappas.
Okay. Sure.
You look confused there.
Well, you cut off partway through that.
Oh right. I have a point about the Kappas.
Hit me.
I'll hit you with the Kappa stuff. Okay. So, Sarah's and my jokes and references aside, why are the Kappas even referenced in this episode at all? Well, there's a specific mention of paying tribute, and I think that they're kind of like the persistent reminder that any given point, you know, the businesses are there may indeed be devoured. They're kind of like a metaphor for that. So I like that that's something there. Also, can I just point out, I love the visual joke where the Kappas are here because of how pristine the water is. Hard cut to middle of the shot, trucks in the distance dumping waste or dirt into the river. Yeah, the persistent reminder of the Kappas, like they're an unseen, like maybe even a little mythological, like, you know, but they need to be paid tribute to. I mean, capitalism. We've heard this all before. Capitalism shit, destroys things. You know what how it is. But yeah, I like that just as a little reference, background detail there that helped reinforce the points that are being made. That hey, you know what, like. It's not any specific person, for example, that ends up like, you know, ending Kanamori's like family's business. It's just the force that goes behind that, which is to say, like, you know, paying your rent, paying for your stock, like, you know, again, capitalism shit. There you go. But I like that was included in there as a motif to back that up.
I mean, like two things. One, I can't imagine that when they pop open the cockpits to those UFOs that there aren't kappas inside them.
Oh my god! And you know what? Now that you said that, I'm imagining looking. I could just with little like scarves on and stuff like that, and goggles. They've got to have goggles on.
They must do.
They're all singing. But the second thing, like, Kanamori's feels so much like a reaction to circumstance.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm glad we weren't. Like, I was like sort of not so much dreading because I trust this creative team by now, but like a little trepidatious about her parents growing up poor and her having to like make money for herself, and like that's why etc.
Yeah.
But like this this investment into like the circumstances of other people and how her and how hard work isn't enough, but and how her specific skill set can, in fact, protect the people who, in a just system, would already be protected, but under the current circumstances, don't have the skill set necessary to thrive by themselves. Like again,
they need an advocate. They need an advocate.
Kanamori is both the hero that Gotham City needs and deserves.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything to throw into the pot there, Doc?
Oh yeah, for sure. A couple things, but first I have a question for you guys. As my first thing. So the Kanamori, so the episode feels like, at least to me, it's kind of divided into thirds. The second third of it feels like it's not equal thirds, by the way. The second act is Kanamori explaining business to her people. The last act is, you know, Kanamori's backstory. And of course, the stuff on the end kind of doesn't fall into that. But what did y'all think about the beginning, like the first sort of third quarter of the episode? It was really kind of pleasant. Like I didn't find myself thinking, despite the kind of aimlessness of it, like, boy, I wish they'd really get to it when they need to get on with it. You know, because they have, in terms of episode time, less time to get from here to the finished product. I think, by my rough math in my head, I too am bad at math. They have less time to go from A to B here than from the conception to the birth of the robot short. So
they have 123 days specifically.
Well, no, I meant episode time.
Oh, right.
Run
you
time.
mean in terms of like the show itself?
Yeah, not diegetic time, but like our time. So, you know, in a different kind of setting for me, like viewing a different show, I could see myself going like, oh my God, like, hurry this up. What are we doing? But like, I find myself really enjoying like the walk through Shibahama and just kind of the nice, like, we're just kind of imagining stuff and talking, touring this part of the district, complaining about the heat, going down into the underground. Like, it ended up serving a purpose, but especially once they went to the shopping district, you know, and that turned out to be for something specific. But like, yeah, it was really nice. Like, I really enjoyed this kind of interlude, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's, again, important that the show, like, it says, hey, you know what? Downtime is good. You know, I mean, this is why I've said to you, Doc, like, about here, not everything that we watch be it anime or whatever, is something we need to talk about on here. Sometimes keeping things to yourself and like, divorcing your hobby or whatever, like public performance kind of thing, just from your own private enjoyment, like, the missile stuff, like, for example, or imagining that, like, Shadow of the Colossus boss, like, they're not going into the anime itself, but they're still enjoying it. Like, there hasn't burned that enjoyment out of them doing all this stuff, which I think is quite key. So that's a nice reminder that that's still a thing. And indeed, that's consistent with what Kanamori's done before, like taking to the bathhouse. Like, she is very, very stern in terms of, I want this done by this point, and no way, like, you're going to get it done in this particular time frame unless you do certain things. But she's not completely slave driving them or making them burn out. And indeed, on top of that, she's also got a purpose, as you say, with doing this, which is to kind of lead into her own story.
Fuck, I just realized that Asakusa and Kanamori probably bonded about loving out-of-the-way, like, hidey holes in the city.
Yes, you're right.
The thing that probably brought them together is that they both, like, have this very deep-seated appreciation for the kind of out-of-the-way places that nobody else sees. But the... This episode for me cinched what I thought was mostly like a good excuse and a good setting, which is like these very Byzantine settings where it would be a pain in the ass to live, but it's but it's like they're really fun to like see, and how that's actually just an allegory for anime production, because this anime is like constantly trying to explain to you like what that the process of the production is part of the beauty of the production. And this episode is like, you see like these bridges which used to go over a river, but now they're just all concrete, but they're still like cute little bridges, and like that's a great little bit about the city. And like how the and when you're watching an anime, it's just like you can see like sure, these cuts were made to save time, but they're like really cool stylistic little things.
Yes. And in turn, to build on that, to go back to the idea of the local businesses floundering, like these idiosyncrasies of the desire of the city, going back all the way into episode 1 and how they were talking about built over time to where the clock no longer makes sense for it to be on that wall because they can't see it. Like, there are consequences to that too. And to go to your idea where you said about, hey, it's allegory for the whole process. So there are times in which those things that, we find quirky or enjoyable as a part of the process can also cause problems, but not insurmountable.
Like it's also like you look at how analog anime production, and if you tried to do analog anime production with the amount of anime and the amount of work necessary for like the current anime landscape, it would all collapse upon itself like a house of cards. And there are great stories about like long running anime series like the Pokemon having the switch to digital, but them having to gradually do it so the fans don't get like scared off by the sudden new look, but it was still a necessary thing for the production process, so they had to like sort of gradually phase it in. I think the thing that Pokemon specifically did was they had a analog filter to start, so that people wouldn't be frightened off, and then after a season they took the filter off.
Reasonable. I mean, I've not seen it myself, but I think Gintama also that thing as well, because that definitely started as like well before digital production was a thing for anime, and then there's been ongoing up until what was it, a year ago? If I recall correctly.
Lasts forever. It's secretly still not over. Still going.
Not in the fandom's heart anyway.
So Cesar says something interesting in chat, that we keep saying how cool the city is, but every episode it feels worse and worse aesthetically. And maybe this is sort of an allegory, right? Maybe this is city is representative of anime and anime production, right? Like from a distance when we first encounter it, it's like, this is so cool. Yeah, but you go diving in and you're like, there's all these underappreciated people, and structurally you're like, oh my god, like this is falling apart, and like there's shit built on top of other shit, built on top of other shit. This is not a sound way to like have a superstructure built, but like it's still kind of going.
It's like all projects, really. You can have a plan laid out, and you can, but there will always be deviation from that. I mean, the city itself. Like, do you think the ramen shop really was that angle? I don't think that was built to
clearly
feature,
not.
shall we say?
No.
No. And it becomes a quirk of it, certainly, but it also can, as you say, become a problem as well. So, yeah.
Throwing the hat into the ring that everybody only being here for skiing is an allegory for everybody only being here for Naruto and Bleach.
Ooh.
Yes. Skiing is the big three. Just the Shonen Jump big three. I like it.
Wow.
I'm into it.
Yeah, I
the teens in the audience will now think I'm old because I mentioned Bleach.
I thought you were going to say skiing then.
and the father of Boruto, Naruto.
Father.
That's all he's known for.
Father of Boruto.
Notable accomplishments. That and that's it.
That's his Wikipedia page
Incredible.
now.
That's the one you filled out anyway.
Amazing. That's tremendous.
Doc, father of the brood.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
All right. Do either of you have any other points to bring up about the episode?
Oh, yeah.
Keep them coming.
So that second act, or second kind of big chunk of the episode I mentioned, where Kanamori explains business to her people. This is going to be... I didn't get on my soapbox last week so much about the industry, quote unquote.
Oh boy.
But,
go on.
But I was really struck by this, and it's something I've thought about for many years, ever since I kind of had my first rough sketch of an idea of how the anime industry, as I understood it, was kind of working in Japan. When I first started to listen to like Anime World Order and read like fucking Answer Man and shit, like really kind of just forming ideas of how the industry worked and how people got paid, I remember just being like, what the fuck? This is like the most ass-backward shit ever. But, and I've been submerged in it for so long, and we all kind of probably have here on the channel.
And it's still the most ass-backward shit ever.
It is, but we kind of don't think about it that way. It just seems so normal to us, right? Like, but for instance, like this whole deal of like, okay, so for the real labor that we, the Eizouken, we did, we made a couple $100. We shouldn't have.
If we were making minimum wage, we would have made $18,000.
Right.
It's insane, isn't it?
It's terrible, but it's not justified. But Kanamori makes that a feature of her business plan, and she's not wrong for doing so, because this is the reality. I mean, one person can't affect this giant economic revolution to fucking change shit.
Unfortunately.
So like, but consider like her whole thing. She's saying like, look, the business model is we bust our asses and break our backs to make $200. But it's not for the $200. It's for creating an emotional investment. Like the DVDs we won't make anything on, the show we won't make anything on, but we're here to turn consumers into fans. We're going to get them in the door, however, and create emotional attachment. Because then we're going to sell... No, not even coming back to DVDs. We're going to sell merchandise. Mm-hmm. These DVDs, this anime that we say is the thing that we love, it's not the thing. The merchandise is the thing. That is the thing in demand. The Kamiket is the dojins, the shirts.
Kanamori's business plan is a YouTube video 5 years from now with "Can you survive off of Eizouken merchandise?"
Mm-hmm.
Her business plan is the Shoji Kanamori plan, which is everything they basically had funded over the past decade and a bit, has been probably more merch than anything else, I would say.
Yeah, also fuck Harmony Gold.
Thank you.
Yes, insert the what is it? Weekly fuck Harmony Gold. You've been
lapsing on your daily prayer, Doc.
The merch and what's the thing? The pachinko machines. Thank you, Macross pachinko machines.
I shouldn't be surprised that exists. Of course it does.
It looks beautiful. They put new animations in it.
I mean, you were talking about Metal Gear Solid though before. At least it's not the Metal Gear pachinko.
But like,
Konami has absolutely made a Metal Gear Solid pachinko machine. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm telling you that's true, and it's amazing.
So, but just
God, remember when Konami as a business was like, we need to pivot to pachinko?
There's a pun in there, but even I won't go that low.
well, the gacha, they're gonna make a gacha game with all the Eizouken girl characters, but yeah, I mean, the fact that
Easy breezy blasting from the pachinko parlor.
But think about how the tail is wagging the dog on this, right? I mean, you can, when you think about this model, that the creators only really make bank through emotional investment that turns into merchandise buys, you can see how then people are going to work backwards from a checklist of traits that dudes like, that het dudes like, for instance, into the anime. So that, you know what I mean? Rather than being like, let's write a compelling script.
Oh, you mean
because
like
what is that? I mean, that's not a guarantee necessarily, but like they feel like a better guarantee is to appeal to the select group of people that we know will buy merchandise. Like it is.
God, I'm glad they have. Sorry, you first.
No, she's just spitting back at me this episode. The things that I learned as a wee baby anime fan, like trying to figure out anyway, how the Japanese anime industry works, and it still to this day baffles me, and it just makes me sadder than ever, honestly, because that just world that you talked about, Alex, I mean, really, I mean, I sound like a idealistic fool, I'm sure, but like the people making the anime, like they should want to like make the good anime and not care about the other stuff and be paid for that, because they don't have to care about the other stuff because they're equitably compensated for the real like labor that they are doing.
The problem with that is that we'd have to introduce unions to Japan.
Fucking hell,
which is an untenable thing.
They'll be more welcoming of fucking kaiju coming on the shores.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, there's you could if you were bold and had a lot of capital, you could
a notable feature of the anime community.
Right. You could if you were some enterprising group or studio or investment group, like start up a new kind of, I mean, do what I guess KyoAni did, right? You could start up a new pipeline and be like, okay, here's the way our system is going to be. We're not going to do the Tezuka shit. We're going to pay our people salaries, and we're only going to make what we can afford to make, and all this other.
I'm still going to do it better than anyone else anyway.
It's so damning that somebody that a whole industry looked at their worst workaholic and was like, well, that's the standard now.
I know. Yes. Yes. So this is what. Sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, because that's always the bottom line, right? It's not what's reasonable and what's profitable. It's like, how much can we get away with? And well, like that guy, he did that. So guess what we're paying you for now?
I know. But this is what, thankfully, that the people that organize the animators dormitory projects, Jun Sagawara, he sort of put that together, or at least the funding pages. The next project for those folks is this new anime making system project where they're just going to try to make they bring up unions. This is what made me think of this, because of you saying unions, because they bring up in their text like, well, what about unions? Wouldn't a union just be an easier thing to do? And they're like, well, there's all these complicated reasons why that can't work out. So basically we just have to try to make a new industry to make the old model outmoded.
Yeah, I believe they have a very tiny, like, little gremlin lady helping.
They do. Yes, that's correct.
Odd. The thing I really appreciate about Kanamori, which we really got driven home in this episode, is that she'll always tell you how things should have been in the same sentence that she's telling you in the way things are.
Yes, you're right.
The same speech where she's like, she starts the speech with, "This was a success," and then also, "We should have been paid 1.8 million yen for this, but we weren't." But crazy, that's just the way the world is, and we're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best despite that.
Yeah, she's very good at blinding people with science, if you use that phrase. But it's true, like, it's very easy for someone to say we should have been paid more for that. And indeed, that's often true. But she quantifies it, as Alex rightly points out. And, I mean...
She finally got good at math.
Well, I'll
She got good
be.
at
She's
using
sure
math to
to.
make a point. That's the thing. It's fucking nuts.
Because the thing that Kanamori understands, which most STEM majors don't, is that math is only as important as it is to people.
Yep, I really can't argue anymore with that. Really,
I might disagree slightly with some of that because I think that there's important math that nobody cares about, but
Well, and some
I'm not really a
the one
pragmatist.
that made the math.
Right, that's fair. No, that yes.
Are you two gonna get in a math fight now? You can have a math
No,
fight.
I mean,
though.
it's a philosophical argument about the importance of meaning and abstract numbers.
Indeed.
So, okay, if I may ask the big question, shall we say? So, I was actually recently talking about this, about how when I watch Parasite, can you make a film that is critical of, or indeed any work that is critical of capitalism inside a capitalistic system to begin with?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
I mean, that's the joke that comic is making, where it's like, we hate this feudal society, and then the knight on a horse is like, and yet you live in one.
it's true. It's true.
Like, that's not their fault. Like, you can still say the thing sucks.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying you can't, but I was just saying I wonder then if the efficacy of the message is lost, because ultimately Kanamori, like, being all into making money and all that, yes, she still has her eyes on the prize of, making sure that Asakusa and Mizuzaki, don't burn out, that they're looked after and all that. Their interests are protected. But isn't there a better way?
Well,
Or is that
let me rephrase the question you're asking. I feel like
But
what you're asking is, are we stuck with the world the way it is, or can it change? Because
Can we have a better, if not greatest world than that?
I feel like that's what you're asking. Because
God, if there's a communist banner at the end of the show,
Yes!
because like
They describe each
there
other as
is
comrades.
no because if you
Damn it.
because if you have made a yes, that's right, they're Nakama.
Finally, the
they're
correct
Nakama.
translation in English for Nakama.
Comrades. If you make a piece of art, and other people see it, it has been commodified and become part of the capitalist system. So all anti-capitalist messages that people see are inside this capitalist system. So either you think it can happen or it can't, and I mean, I think that it can. I believe that it can, and like Alex was saying, I mean, it's basically the only means to do it. Like, there's not really another way to protest it or call for change, because there's no oxygen outside of the system for that stuff to live in and get seen.
I mean, I think it's about like making the difference where you can, because the thing that Kanamori is good at is cutthroat the lessons of cutthroat capitalism
With a heart.
yeah, and the people that Kanamori likes are good at making very self-indulgent art, and so the compromise is, yeah, like I'm going to make it the best for these people as I can, and I don't know, like Kanamori is really good at making your small business thrive. She's not good at communist revolt. I mean, if she
Who
ever
among
decided
us
to
are?
I'm not saying she's not good at the communist revolt, but we don't know yet. But she has a set of skills that are shown to fulfill her and shown to make a difference in the world around her, and she's decided to lean into those.
Now that you mention it like that, Alex, funny enough, also a little bit with Parasite as well, is that, okay, I'm not saying that we go straight into, overthrowing, like, capitalism or all that.
I am.
Like, okay, yes, that's fair. But the more pragmatic response would be, it doesn't mean we can't be better inside the system to begin with. Like, okay, there's a certain maximum theoretical level of how well you treat people inside a capitalist system like this, where you're creating art and such. And we're not even meeting that. For fuck's sake.
I'm trying not to get into an argument about Parasite right now.
Oh, we'll talk about Offcast. We will.
Okay, cool.
So in that case, those to go back to my point though, like with Kanamori though, like I'm glad that even though like she's stuck inside like basically doing the same thing that was done to her family in a sense. Oh, sorry, you're switching.
No, I remember. No, you first. I remember deploying the hand awake.
She, is still trying to do it in a better way in terms of caring morally and ethically about the people who are creating the actual products to begin with, which in a staggering way feels like it's not such a big ask. And yet, well, how many things do you want me to point out, in the news and whatnot? Do you want me to mention Amazon? Yeah, exactly. So good on her for doing that, She might be ruthless, but she's ruthless to, people that deserve it, I suppose.
I mean, the best thing that Kanamori ever did was being bad at math, because the people who are good at math are like all fucking formalists who are like, we need to follow the algorithm, and it's all about the function of business and not about the product of it. Like, they think you can abstract the product out of the equation, and Kanamori is the only person on the ground who realizes that either you couldn't or you shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
So I think, okay, slight possible hot take here. I think Kanamori might have learned the wrong lesson from the store going out of business.
Yes! All right, go.
I think so, because and this has come to me from chat. Like, chat is asking, would Kanamori be into communism? And my first response was like, well, she would like social safety nets. I mean, it feels like she would be at least into socialism, and the question is like how much to the left. But then I was thinking like, you know what, actually maybe not. Maybe the lesson she learned from it was like, I wasn't cutthroat enough. I wasn't hardcore enough in my like sales pitches. I didn't advertise enough. I didn't the store didn't do well enough by itself within the system. The lesson that she didn't learn was, well, this is fucked. And something needs to change. It feels like she's like, well,
can't beat him, join him.
We have to we have to be at the top of the dog pile, not like.
I deeply do not believe that that's what she took away from it.
Okay.
Like, the Kanamori at the start was just the Democrats' favorite voter, the imaginary blue collar worker who knows that you can lift yourself up by your bootstraps, even though that's a tautology. Sorry, it's
that's what it feels like she's trying to do, right? I mean,
but that's how she starts. That's what literally keeps her in height down. But she realizes that there's like all these systems in place, and there's this greater context to things, and that the only way to survive is that even though the systems are fucked and unfair, and that they have nothing to do with like the actual reality of the situation, or at least the actual reality system doesn't decidedly influence the end result. She has to. There has to be somebody involved who knows how to play into that, and she knew that could be her.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why she's so fervently wanting to help, do all this stuff. Like, what I would have. I mean, go back to the poll I put up. Like, did she go too far? Back then, without the context I had, I would have said, pushing it a little bit. But it's funny how with that benefit now of the backstory we have here, seeing how she pushes them so hard, but at the same time also gives them the downtime that they need, and is doing it out of the need to make sure that they're properly compensated for their work, but also making sure it actually gets done to begin with.
Right, but the whole labor theory of value is a deeply capitalist idea. And if the reason she's doing it is like, oh my god, like the labor that these people are doing wasn't noticed, so I have to wave my arms even harder so that this labor can get compensated. Like, I feel like that isn't quite. I don't know, that feels like it might be the wrong lesson.
I mean, there's two things. The first is that Kanamori's work ethic is as little as possible.
Maximum efficiency.
Which is good.
Yes.
Like, that's what makes her a great producer. Like, she, it's one of the things which make her a great producer.
In fact, she's still yelling at me even this episode, like, don't do this extra unnecessary, pointless.
Yeah, she calls it like a research and development project.
Yep.
Which is just great. It's great bureaucratic language for this like very off-kilter this animation flight of fancy. And The other thing is, I mean, it's about like it's about making your way in the system as best as possible. It's not. It's not. She isn't bought in, but she knows everybody has to play the game, or at least everybody, as long as they're playing this game.
She's a kaiju character.
I can buy that she would be cynical enough to like she had that epiphany of like, oh, like this is so rigged against common laborers, but then said what you said, Alex. Like, well, if it is, then here's what we have to do to tilt it more towards us.
I mean, here's the other thing. Like, Minimori was like, let's say 12, and Kanamori is.
I'm thinking about her as an adult.
Yeah, but she's 17.
That's right. She's not an adult.
She's not an adult.
She's still a minor. It's an entirely fair point. That's a very fair point.
Just because she actually talks
she's so mature, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just because she's more mature than most of the people we know, including us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't want the people in chat are
doesn't
getting.
Mean she's read political theory.
Yeah, she's. Why don't you go read the bread book? No, it's like, look. Everyone in chat is getting mad at me. I'm not criticizing. I'm not like mad at Kanamori, like, and saying this is what she should be like doing. I love that she's doing this. I love her attitude. I love that she loves her friends. I love that she's a caring soul underneath her gruff exterior. Like, I love all this, right? I'm just kind of pontificating like on like just how this all like this episode relates to economics in my head, and but it's not really about that necessarily. It's like about these girls, and this is not this is, as I think said earlier, and Alex, you also said, like, she's not it's not her job in this show, nor should it be to like let's change the economic and social system. Like, that's not what this is about. No, this is my Bernie Sanders impression. It's not her job to change the system. We are living in it.
I forgot how good you were at impressions. It scares me sometimes.
Kanamori Sayaka, get up here. She is gonna run for vice president of the United States of America.
Oh, finally we can get anything done at all.
Fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
No, I'm sorry, Ella. You're right. I don't. I was reading into your tone.
A tweet about why isn't Chuli real, and it's why isn't Kanamori VP.
Or even P.
Hey.
Oh my god. Right, do we have any more points?
I've got more, but I've been talking for a while.
No, Doc, you go. I'll look up whatever the fuck my points were.
I'm good for the moment.
So, shifting gears away from everyone's favorite, Kanamori, right? Like, beloved Kanamori. And my thought experiments. On to Asakusa. And especially at the end of the episode. And she kind of had a little bit of a parallel moment that Mizusaki's had for a couple of episodes. Where she has, I've used this word a couple times today, an epiphany. She kind of comes to a realization, right? She's wanting, like you were saying, Shadon, she's wanting to do the whole, like, lasers, like, you can't see them, the human eye, like, we don't need to show the flashy beams. This is about realism. And it's very important to her, like, she's not just being a huge nerd. Like, it fits into the aesthetic of the show. It's something, it's sort of, that element undergirds some of the themes that she's wanting to convey about her world. And something that someone says in the show, they talk about, it's Kanamori. Kanamori is learning to speak Asakusa, right? She's interpreting her language. She's like, says all this stuff like, and then Kanamori is like,
I'm sorry, Doc, could you cut out? Could you repeat that again?
Yeah, so please cut that into a GIF. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Use it on the Discord.
And Kanamori is like, okay, I understand that's how you want to perform
But
it.
fucking normies are watching this.
And Well, come on in, normies. Come on in. We love you too. And Asakusa's like, oh, perform. Oh my god, like, wow. Everything that I've been doing, all these little details, it's been a kind of performance. Like, it's, I am, it's like she realizes she has this power. She's not just sort of gesturing. Yeah. She's not just like, hey, everybody, look at the world. She's like, she realizes that she is like almost like a puppet master. Like she can frame, reframe, contextualize, decontextualize whatever she wants to about the greatest world. It's a performance. It's not about necessarily like getting a complete view of it, but it's like demonstrating these different aspects of that world. Her job as a director to do that. It's like she realizes she's in control of how the greatest world is presented and framed to us. So like she can manipulate everything. And she's like, oh, you think this is a problem that we don't have laser beams? Here, I just do this, and this. We show the shot this way. And everything that I want to get across has gotten across, and all your concerns, it's like she's becomes like this toolbox is open to her where she can solve all these problems. Like, and it's because she's realized that she is just the stage master. You know, she's in control of how people see her world, and it's so amazing. Sorry, go ahead now.
You know what's funny now that you mentioned it, I've just also realized it's kind of like a nice reminder for the audience as well that, yeah, okay, little anime gremlin got all these amazing ideas and all that, but even she can take a step back and view her own work through a different lens every now and again. You know, it's a nice reminder that she's just, well, for all the eccentricities of the anime itself and the way that she is designed as a character, like, it's a nice reminder that she's just as regular and normal as everyone else in terms of, okay, I've got this way of viewing my work that I normally am like completely utterly horse blind as tunnel vision into, but oh wait, look a different way. I see.
I also really like this as like these two parts of the show seem very different from each other. You know, we have them going to the you were talking about thirds, Doc. We have them going to the little town. We have Kanamori's backstory, and then we have like this directorial epiphany. But actually, like this is something where Kanamori's way of viewing the world is very like is critically influential on like how Asakusa sees her own craft, in which that Asakusa used to think like directing for her was finding like the little mind palace inside of her, like that platonic ideal of what she wanted to create. Yeah. And then transposing that onto animation paper. But what Kanamori suggests is that what Asakusa's actual job is to sell that world. Her job is to make that world look as much as that world as possible. Her job is and the first thing and so all the things that Asakusa has like been doing because she loves the craft and because she knows like what to look for. Like she has the eye and she has the instinct for it. Like the sound mixing segments, or when she's like pointing out all the cool details, or when she points out like all the time saving things. But those were things that she only did when like faced with constraints, because like those are things that she knew were part of the process that she could draw upon. But here, it's no, that's your job all of the time and as much as possible. And so suddenly she like as you said, she has this toolbox and she busts it open and she's like, all of the tools. You want the close-ups? We got the close-ups. You want the shot reverse shot? Got the shot reverse shot. Smoke, sound, everything. We got it. It's there. That's what we need. Because as a great image once said, I know creators who use subtlety and they're losers.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great way of putting it. Just I love that this little gremlin, as you often call her, Shadon, so derisive. That
am I wrong?
She's lovely.
She's great.
That
I mean, Gizmo was a gremlin, and he was fantastic.
Gremlin and Lovely are not antitheses.
Thank you, Alex.
That may be
Thank
true,
you.
but I don't know if I'd call Gizmo fantastic. I might push back a little bit there. Have you seen that movie lately, by the way? It's fucking weird. I tried to rewatch Gremlins, the first Gremlins. I tried to watch it like a few months ago. It's strange, very strange.
I mean,
film.
it is one of the movies that created the PG-13 rating. So,
is that true? I didn't know that. God.
Gremlins and the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
Oh, I can see Temple of Doom doing that.
Because Temple of Doom was PG.
Oh.
Whoops.
Woof.
That was a mistake.
But
well, it was either that or R, and it wasn't R.
No, they had to.
Also, the first PG-13 rated movie was Red Dawn.
Huh.
Well, we're learning
Okay.
shit. Oh my god. Well, we're going back to communism again. There we go. That's our throwback.
No. To try to bring it back.
In every home.
I really like that that Asakusa, like the most kind of, gosh, what's the right word? Helpless is not the right word, but she is the most riddled with anxiety and definitely the one who feels like she leans upon others a lot. Like,
you know, though, Doc,
she's
now that you
like
bring this up,
self-reliant. Suddenly.
There's a montage in this episode where we see Asuka's actually going back to the art club again. And she seems to be very much in charge this time. Like, not to, like, the point where she's leaning over the table, say, you will do this, this, and this, like, but she's actually not at the same time, like, presented as, like, shaking or quivering or anything like that, or being nervous like she was previously. She's just there. Like, here's what you're going to do. Please do it.
It's a great position of control, because she's like, here's your thank you presents for last time, and here's what I want you to do this time. And the list of demands is larger than the present.
Unfurling the scroll.
I'm just imagining Kanamori.
No more yellow cars.
You're right, Sue.
So, like, again, this is going to be me complaining unreasonably, but
Go on.
I understand why we had to do the montage this time, because we're running out of show, and like, you can't just show.
Were you complaining about montages earlier?
You're complaining about montage in an anime about making anime.
I was not complaining about montages earlier. I'm saying that a minute ago, I was quote unquote complaining by doing the whole question, like, did Kanamori learn the wrong lesson? That wasn't really complaining. This is not really me complaining either, but this is me being unreasonable and saying, if I had my druthers, I want to see, like, I don't want any montages in this show. I want to see everything. I want to spend every single minute possible with these girls. No, they're great. I love a montage. But, like, and I totally understand why we have to do it. Again, we're running out of show. We cannot show every single thing the way we did last time. We have to move the story along. But I don't want to move the story along. I don't want the show to be over. I want more. I want to see everything. I want to see those interactions. Like, I loved them last time, and I want to see them again.
Are you going to make your own Eizouken anime then?
Wah. This is me throwing things out of the pram.
Eisenstein posited that the montage was the heart of cinema, and I agree with him.
I love a montage. I love a montage.
It was the one that gave me my current Discord avatar. Them rowing the boat. It's completely unexplained.
Well, that rocked. That was incredible.
Like cinema is about the editing of space. Sorry. I'm gonna get into it anyway.
I do not want to read. Can I just really quickly respond to Caesar in chat? I do not want to read the manga. I want to, like, that is. I mean, I probably will someday. This project. My deep love for this is that
all of your, like, you have had 5 monologues this session, and you're all like to have this self-defeating coda.
Should we make a montage of it?
We should.
Yes.
That
would be a supercut, actually, in current parlance.
This works as a film. The film is the medium through which I want to experience this story. I'm sure it's lovely as a manga. But everything I love about it is that it is animated, that it is moving.
Would you settle for shadow puppets?
I would. Absolutely. Please.
Okay, that'll do it.
Do the shadow puppet show.
Play-Doh. Doc 2020.
Thank you. Yes. I could get down with that. No, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I don't. Wait, hold on. Where did you interrupt me?
I'm sorry. I'm
You're
a very
about
bad
cinema.
host. Yeah.
You were saying something about cinema. You're about to go off on one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no. Look. Montages are the cutting of space in relationship towards time to deliver the maximum amount of meaning. That it's why we remember Rocky IV for the Hearts on Fire, Strong Desire, and that
Hearts on fire.
There we go.
Heat is rising.
All the openings Commando.
Yeah, so good. If he dies, he dies.
Or it's like Konosuba episode 1 has one of the best montages I've ever seen, in which they start like, okay, we're here in this parallel world. We have no skills. Time to start our adventure. And then it cuts to them in 1 minute doing brutally hard labor, failing at brutally hard labor, drinking large amount of alcohol with their coworkers, falling asleep, satisfied, and then that 4 or 5 more times going better at the hard labor and more rambunctious with the alcohol every single time. It also includes rainbow colored vomit as a beautiful aside.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I also love a montage. I've said that. I will say it again. However, this is the question I will ask you. Would you rather view a montage of your 3 best friends or spend time with your 3 best friends?
Well, the problem with that question, though, Doc, is that you're assuming...
Oh, no, he's cut out. He's cut out right when... No.
Shadon, like the last 2 episodes, you've cut out at always like their most dramatically opportune times. It's like
I'm just giving people opportunity to put in their own fandom. What can I say?
Shadon is doing the end of Eva dub of his own segment.
Finally, I've reached my apotheosis. No, the thing I was going to say though, Doc, is you're assuming that.
Should you restart the call? Oh, Lord.
You're doing it deliberately. You're doing it deliberately, you prick. I know it.
Don't point at me. I'm not doing it. I promise.
I can't tell who's pointing at because...
Yeah, I know.
Alex is in the middle again in my thing now. Ah, dear.
You know, I am always the center of attention.
It's true. It's
okay.
true.
Now, ask your question, please.
Not a question, a statement in response to your question, rather. Which was to say that I think your
Dog's video is gone for me again, by the way.
Oh, it's fine. He's just been Zawado'd. He's fine.
As long as you can hear me, I think that's.
I can still hear you.
Yeah,
That's fine. Okay.
That'll do. So basically, I think your point is that, or rather, your question is inferring an infinite amount of time in which to enjoy that in. We know that this anime has a definitive set of episodes, and so. Again, this being the anime about making anime, it behooves it to try and use that efficiently.
Hence, my whole preface is saying I'm being unreasonable. Like, I understand why they did it. Because, well, look, because so you can understand my impulse. You can understand where I'm coming from.
Just like Kanamori, Doc understands that he lives in the real world, but he wants you to know that the just world hypothetically could exist.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
There's an ideal where we get new Eizouken every week forever.
Mm-hmm. There's an ideal where me and Doc go out drinking and make complete fools of ourselves and never speak of it again.
That needs to happen, very soon.
Yeah.
We will, at some point.
Yeah.
I need a substantial amount more money. So if you want to, subscribe to our Patreon and help finance my trip to America to completely destroy my liver and also Doc's dignity, please do.
For the stretch goal, I will destroy both of their dignity.
No.
You think you could have... Oh, is that it? Is it, Sunshine?
Shadon, I already know I can drink you under the table. Doc should be easy.
Bullshit.
Oh yeah, listen. I'm probably a super lightweight when it comes to this shit, because I don't go out to do that sort of thing all that often. So yeah, you'd have to carry me around, both of you.
Well, that's why I'll bring
Weekend
the
at docks.
Does have like a rickshaw to pull me.
That's
the
my plan,
street.
yeah. All right, do we have any more points to make about the episode?
Fuck, shit. We got so into the conversation that I had them and I lost them again.
You know what was cool?
Yeah.
When they were doing the sound stuff and the waveform was on the screen, I enjoyed that. That was a nice touch.
I love Kanamori's con smile when things are going well in this episode.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually no. You're right. It's actually legitimately good how Kanamori's always constantly got the overbite going, but even then they still manage to have different expressions with it. They've clearly put a lot of thought into it, which is quite neat.
Yeah. No. Either she has resting Kanamori face, which is a downward triangle, or she's scheming.
Scheming. You're absolutely right. There is one of those two things, but still. It goes well with like all the other like expressions. I mean, Mizusaki's actually gone away at this point as being the most normal by a long shot.
I mean, how?
Mizusaki knows how to present the most as normal.
Yeah,
That's
it's true. It's so true.
That is one of the most on point things I think that have been said about it. You nail on head there, Alex. You can come assemble a shed for me sometime if you're that good with it.
If you're hot, you get away with a lot of that kind of shit, and still come off feeling normal.
If only I did. I had someone in the chat describe me as a Tic Tac before.
I'm pretty sure that was a bot or a troll, but
well, I'm sorry to say, but he's right because I always do keep it fresh. So there you go.
I enjoyed when Asakusa again. She for being one without a lot of courage in public, like when she's in her group of friends, like she's so quick-witted and just has a lash of a tongue. Like when Kanamori says that she
down girl
was great, and when she says, oh, I got the Chamber of Commerce to finance my anime, which what a sentence, by the way. I got the Chamber of incredible.
That was probably a very quick meeting.
Asakusa says, "Did you use thuggery?"
I think the like parenthetical translation is, "Did you strong arm them?"
Did you get one of them in a headlock?
In many senses, but especially
either way.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for I need to at least have one thing happen before this this show ends, which is I want Asakusa to use the word shenanigans.
No, that's Kanamori word. I've had enough of these shenanigans.
Okay, yes, when you put it like that, you're absolutely right. Kanamori could sell that word.
If there's one thing I hate, it's people that get involved in shenanigans. She always has that preface, like...
If there's one thing I hate, it's these shenanigans.
Yes. Just like a really very specific thing that she hates, always, the one thing.
I like that the older anime fan who was like the crux of this episode is one politically active.
Yes, the Young Persons Association president.
Yeah, like he's if the Young Democrats didn't suck.
Well, that's not difficult.
Low bar, but
everyone starts somewhere.
And also that he was able to articulate the thing that the robot club sort of almost self-destructed over, like just because he was older.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like he was able to articulate the whole thing where they were trying to say like it's like this, but it's also like this, and it's like
Yes.
It's like yeah, it's like you did a super robot thing, but you used like a real robot verisimilitude. That was super cool, and it was just like you can do it in one sentence.
Verisimilitude.
Cheated.
I mean,
I love that word.
It's so funny how like these three young upstarts have managed to make like a for real robot anime. That's really great. I really appreciate
it's crazy,
that.
Isn't it?
No, he calls them geniuses for it, and he's not wrong.
No, absolutely. I can't even imagine like this show has obviously done a great deal in like trying to get out to us like how difficult that is, but even then I still can't quite imagine it. It's crazy.
Oh, this just really hit me thinking about how they put together, they being Mizusaki and Asakusa, kind of the synthesis of their ideas for the robot anime. So we talk about on here a lot the need to bring in other influences into anime when you are making it. Like, if you are an anime that is, or an industry, a whole industry that is only referencing itself, you're gonna like slowly die as your fan population dies off, and you become this very incestuous, insular thing. And you know, Asakusa has that side of it. Like, she is so steeped in anime, she's like bringing in like influences from other robot shows. But it's a good thing, this, right? Like, she understands the history of animation and anime in particular, and she knows like what to reference, and she's got some kind of working models in her head. And then you have Mizusaki bringing in influences from outside of anime in terms of like the movement classes she took and everything, and
both
her
of
own
them are
life
also bringing up their own,
experience.
own personal elements as well. Like, what I discussed before about the differences between their influences, one of which being Asuka's as being very technology based, like freedom, flight, you know, the kind of thing that has a little bit of roots in the class element, versus Mizusaki's, which is its own class element, but rather more a kind of personal freedom, like, you know, to perform an act in the way that she wants to, rather than being dictated to.
So like maybe the best way to like make a good Gundam show is not to just watch all of Gundam and like re-vomit up, like regurgitate Gundam back to the fan. Maybe it's like just to make a totally new thing.
Make you have a point after 4
Or one out
in the spirit.
Blooded Orphans and what could have been.
Right? Yeah, I know. I
I'm
love.
pouring one in for
Listen,
thinking about Wing in a minute.
I love Iron Blooded. I still love Iron Blooded Orphans.
God.
Pouring one in for Wayne.
Yeah, I know. Every time I think of that, I need
But
to
that was
stop
just I didn't think
Thank
about
you,
that at the time.
Shadon, for Grizz, you're watching this. Shadon is with me on this. Pour one in, always.
It's true. I do have a can of beer in the fridge for after this. Anyway,
Wing was real rough. But yeah, no, that synthesis of like influences from within the medium and then without, like, was so great. Like, that's perfect. And they made a great anime because of that.
I mean, I think the thing that really shut up, Preston.
It could be wrong.
I think the thing that
It's good. Iron Blood Orphans
really
is great.
Set it apart, Mizusaki and Asakusa, is that Asakusa is obsessed with how things are, and Mizusaki is obsessed with how things move, and together, that's that's anime.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Cesar's comment there because that is right. The best way to make a road show is not to make Darling in the Franxx. And I'm like,
that's a good start.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's if I ever teach an anime class, like, okay, listen up, kids. See this DVD here of Darling in the Franxx? Don't do this.
I'm thinking of that drill tweet. Drill tweet. What the fuck is that? Drill tweet. Where he's like, I'm sorry, I do not absolutely have to hand it to ISIS, and then I do not absolutely have to hand it to Darling in the Franxx.
Nishigori, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
02 was a great character design. It's like, no, you don't have to go there.
Thank fuck for that.
But to return to the actual anime we're talking about, I like how Asakusa and Kanamori move more like each other in this episode. Because in the first episode, Kanamori is like all posture all of the time. Like, she is basically still frames, ominous stills frames stitched together. And Asakusa is like this cartoon character going for like super expressive things. And here, Asakusa gets especially during her like directorial revelation. See, you can use another word than epiphany.
Thank you.
You're welcome. She gets like these couple of still frames where she's like, you know, oh my god,
yeah.
Oh my god,
the detail on her face.
Yeah. It's super good. And yet when Kanamori gets out of that chair, she's like,
you're right.
It's awesome.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's super good.
Okay, do we have any more points? Any more from my review, gentlemen?
This episode was great.
It was great. I agree.
Kanamori could kick Light Yagami's ass
easily. I mean, yes. Alex, like, what be wet, bro? What be wet? All right. Well, in that case, then I think we'll probably take it now to the end of the episode, conclude. While do firstly those go through the polls. So if you give me just a moment, I will bring those.
I got that. They're up.
He's on it. He's on it.
I am on Twitter duty this week, so I will read them back to you all. So here are the polls for episode number 9, and again, you can vote on these now. You can vote on them later, up until the end of the week, and then we will read the completed results, the finished products, back to you on next episode. So poll number 1, do you know what Dragon's Den is? 54% say yes, 45% no. It's hotly contested race at the moment. Poll number 2, is there anything fun about social media?
No.
Yay has 33% and nay has 66%. No. So
well, they met you fuckers on it, so it can't be all bad.
Aww.
Bro
One
fists.
with cockles in my heart, you will.
Insert joke about you not actually having a heart because you forgot to do that. I'm covering for you.
Thanks. I'm getting sloppy in my old age.
So poll 3. Would you describe Kanamori as a, quote, social media maven? And 84.6% say yes. Why haven't you followed?
You didn't pronounce that correctly, Doc. You know it's in Leet speak. You need to pronounce it properly.
You'll have to help me out here. I'm not exactly fluent.
Oh, I see how it is. All right, then. Fine. Let's see how we do this. Yes, and why haven't you followed? There you go.
Perfect. Poll 4.
I was a gamer once.
Okay, I'm going to let that one sit.
You were last week described as the best Guilty Gear player in Britain.
That's a lie. That is a factual lie.
It might be a lie that you are or are not, but you were described that way.
Maybe they meant that you embodied the heart of the game better than anyone else.
The smell of the game.
But bullshit.
There we go.
Would you believe Kepi was supposed to make a cameo appearance but was so high he forgot? 90% say dude in all caps, and only 9% say dude? The question mark.
Yep, you know the truth there, folks.
Did Kanamori blind you with science? 100% say owie, yes. 100%. Landslide vote at the moment, but that could all change before next week. We will update you then. Those are the polls.
The first is, anybody interested in blinding you with science should watch the Tenchimuyo Washu AMV about blinding you with science.
That's a good one.
Oh my god, that's the song from, yep.
Number 2, I vote for another poll, which is the I witnessed the death of a liquor store the greatest beginning to a monologue?
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm adding that poll now.
Why are we even making this a choice? Come on, there's only one right answer here.
Because your polls have always allowed for the room for your audience to be deeply morally wrong.
I don't know. That's our responsibility as the host, though, Alex. Get it right. We should be allowing our audience to be like us, you know. Well, that's why we call the podcast Warui Deshou. It's probably bad.
And the third is the point that I remembered and then forgot to make last time.
Ooh.
Which is that the thing that I was not missing but thought could be added to Eizouken is the fact that luck and chance is always going to play a part.
Yes, yeah.
Like no matter how hard you work, no matter how good you do, no matter how good you understand the systems, luck and chance is always going to be a deciding factor in how your work turns out. And the thing I like about Kanamori's backstory is that it was her realizing that and becoming the bulwark of the Eizouken against that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see where you're coming from there, Alex, and I do agree, but I do think that that's kind of also built into the fabric of the show itself by merit of the people that we have as characters. Like, it is lucky for them to have someone like Kanamori on their side to begin with, but it's also equally lucky to have Asakusa and Mizuzaki, who are both very talented animators in their own right, but they bring different sensibilities in. And then even things like, we were very lucky to have, like, you know, the PC that we bought for 30,000 yen, secondhand inherited, or the sofas that we got. I mentioned on one of our previous discussions about Mizuzaki, like, how her wealth has played a little bit of a part in it as well.
Right.
Like, with the hand-me-downs.
I mean,
But do you need to make it more explicit?
But it's one thing to comment on all your good luck, but sometimes it's just gonna be like,
Ah.
yeah, we just didn't make it, and there's nothing we could have done, and that's
you
just the way it is.
know, you're right. As good as it is just to see the Eizouken
Very
girls-
nervously awaiting the next 3 episodes now.
Oh no! Oh, I don't think I'd be happy with
This
that.
is a celebration. This is not.
Yes.
This will
It's
not
not-
be a plane crash.
I'm not gonna say it's over till it's over. And thankfully, I've been talking long enough that I could actually remember the last point I wanted to make with this episode. Which is that I loved the government shakedown at the start of this episode.
Oh god.
I love that Kanamori, for all her talk, Kanamori is the mob, but there's no bigger crooks than the government.
Yep.
And
This message brought to you by the Yakuza.
This message brought to you by the guy who said that he was okay with overthrowing capitalism, that we should organize a communist revolt.
Yes.
I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Guillotines. Try one today.
It was really the best of times. Always.
But the
There's
thing
some
is,
cake
like,
over here. Hang on.
the problem that the government has with Kanamori taking a cut on rent isn't that somebody's taking a cut on rent, is that the somebody isn't them.
Yeah, I mean the security club. They're literally riot police.
And as we all know, the police only serve the capitalist interest of the ruling class.
AKA the student council.
AKA the student council.
Right, it really is like Kill the Kill, just not in the way I expected.
True.
Yes, the fascism is softer but more pronounced.
And not as sort of fashionably trendy.
They don't get subtitles.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Kanamori is her own subtitle, to be fair.
Do you think that Kanamori will get her comeuppance one of these episodes? Sophie has declared
Kanamori gets
this.
her own Yakuza game.
I would play that. To answer your question, Sophie...
She's not asking. She's telling you.
Yeah, well, okay, if just to get off my phone that, if that happens, it's going to be something minor. I don't think it's going to be like a complete catastrophic, like, make or break moment. I think it's like a knockback, if you will, but that's kind of going to be it at most.
Yeah. She will perhaps learn something. Maybe there is something more for her to learn, because the other two have sort of had these self-discovery kind of moments. And is there one in the cards for her? We'll have to see.
All right, so we've done the polls. Thank you very much, everyone who's taken part. You can find them on Warui Deshou at Twitter, as said before. We'll now go to rating the episode. So I'm going to pass this one straight over to Alex.
Shit. Like Kanamori, I am bad at math.
Nice.
And I rate this episode a deeply promising business venture out of 5.
Beautiful. Doc, I'll pass it over to you now.
So I'm struggling. I'm like between two ratings on this. I almost said between two ferns. I don't know why. But I'm gonna be brave and not be cowardly.
Galifianakis?
You're right, exactly. He's behind me, just out of the shot. So I think that I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna go a full 5 highest marks here. 5 Chamber of Commerce funded anime out of 5 for this one. It really made me think a lot. I thought that there was personal growth from the characters, especially Asakusa. I loved all the time we got to spend with Kanamori. It was just deeply fun and heartfelt and kind of warm feeling inducing, and helped me understand her more, which I always love to do with characters that I like. And great also like plaintive kind of peaceful moments in the episode, which I love my girls getting to have a chill time. So this episode had a lot of really nice beats for me. I very, very watchable. I mean, the whole show has been super watchable, but like it was, as cathartic and like emotional as like certain episodes that I have rated full marks have been, like this one I think I just loved for just different reasons. Like, it's, you know, I would not have thought it earlier, but the show actually is kind of pretty versatile in terms of the ways that it makes me feel on a per episode basis.
I would agree. All right, for me then, I am going to give this episode 4.75 Miss Kepi cameos out of 5.
I almost went
Because
there. Miss Kepi.
We needed to have those. I mean, here's the thing, right? We discussed before, like, about the idea of Kanamori as a character and how we were kind of okay with her not having a great amount of examination into her backstory. Like, she's almost up to this point felt a little mythologized, and that's not necessarily the show's own doing. It's often as much a process of the community and how people react to her. And I think everyone loves Kanamori. Like, for me, like, the tier list is Kanamori, Asakusa, and then Mizuzaki. They're all great, don't get me wrong, but it's very clearly someone stands head and shoulders above the others. And to a certain extent, I think there can be a risk when you're doing a work like this in peeling back the curtain, you know, dissecting a character who otherwise has been portrayed in that way thus far. To the point where we said, hey, you know what, we don't necessarily need to know. And I'm now twice wrong on that, because I simply said, hey, I don't necessarily need to know about Mizusaki's parents. You know, they could be background figures. They could be the existential threat that, you know, is for her specifically. But then we learned about them, and it was better for it.
Shadon, you need to watch Utena.
I'm going to.
Sweet Lord. You super
I will. Believe me. Like, I'm on the Ikahara thing now. Like, you know, fix, otherwise I'm going to have withdrawal. But like with the parents, though, I'm glad that I'm wrong here, and that we're actually learning more about Kanamori's history. Not only did it really, like, you know, show about the whole stuff about systems that we discussed, but it also really, really showed, like, how even in her own way, she still deeply cares about Asakusa and Mizuzaki, but it's in a way that doesn't actually diminish her character or make her seem less intense, as you will. The thing that we find appealing, she's still very much her own person, has her own way of showing her affection, but it is there, and it's now clear as day to us, and it's all the better for that explanation. Plus all the great stuff of, like, the, you know, the me feeling nostalgic for the places that I've been to in my past, all the indie stuff, like, you know, like all the bars, for example, I've been to. Like, it made me feel kind of like reminiscent of that, and how I'm sad that they're not around anymore. So I'll just put my call to action out. Like, if you know places like that you're fond of supporting, like independent record shops, bars, you know, food joints, you name it, go and support them over, I don't know, going buying a KFC or some shit, whatever it is you do instead, you know. You can always do better than that. But yeah, I really, really enjoy stuff. So the one kind of sort of criticism I would have it, but it's not something I really feel is major, is that it feels a bit disjointed in terms of the material, which is that it's about the comic kit thing, but it's not really about that. Then it's about Kanamori, then it's not kind of about it. And I wonder if that's a function of it coming from the manga, and how maybe it, like we've discussed with Vinland Saga, the way that the episodes lined up for that show didn't really translate from the material in terms of structure straightforward way, you know. But that's like the most minor of things, and that's the 2.5 that, the 0.25 that I knocked off. But the rest of it was just flawless. Loved it.
Shadon, I think you're right in, like, that's the reason the way it's structured the way it is. But I disagree that it's a bad thing, because I really like how it's the layers of okay, this is what we need to, this is what we need to do, and this is where we need to go, and then this is why I care about this sort of thing, and then it's and then in making this, like, how does that form the bridge to the next thing we make? Like, I say it's minor, because I think in the end, for me, like, I would prefer if this Kanamori's episode, in a structural sense, just to really give it, like, you know, that final moment needed of triumph that ended with her specifically. No, but it is Kanamori's moment of triumph.
Yes, it is, but it doesn't end on it. It's more about in the ends on.
Yes, it does. So here's the thing.
She wouldn't have wanted. Yeah, go ahead. I think you're gonna say it.
Kanamori's tragic backstory was that she worked her ass off and it didn't matter. Kanamori, the end of this episode is Kanamori directly creating the circumstances for and inspiring the next work of art for Asakusa. Her work matters.
Oh, it does. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying I disagree with you at all. But I'm just saying that, speaking strictly and very selfishly for me, like, I just kind of wanted it to be more all about her in this one like discrete moment, like ending on the same note like as it with Mizusaki's parents, where the ending was about her in specific.
Well,
but that's just me.
But what would Kanamori want? Would she want that limelight? Or I mean, I think she would. It seems like she wants, like Alex was saying, like the thing that she wants most in the world is people that are her friends and that make quality creations to be noticed and to have the shine on them.
Maybe then in that case the closing shot shouldn't have been of Asuka talking about the greatest world, but more like maybe a shot like of Kanamori looking on, like, you know.
I mean, but they say, you know, like the best editor is the one you don't notice.
Mm-hmm. I think it was true to the spirit of her character. You know what I mean? Like it felt that way, and I enjoyed the whole journey of it, like you were saying. And I mean, we're going after you like you took off a whole 2 points. It was 0.25 points.
Here's the thing: if you had shown Kanamori smiling at Asuka at the end of that, she would have called you names and told you it was self-indulgent.
Yeah,
I actually can't disagree with that in the slightest. You're entirely correct. Ah, shit. Anyway, I'm sticking to my guns on that one. 4.75. Still love the fuck out of the episode. It's great. All right, so that brings us to the end of our discussion of Eizouken for this week. To all of our wonderful audience members, thank you very much for joining us this fine evening and offering your contributions and thoughts. I want to thank Alex again for joining us a second time around. It's always good to have you on, Alex. I mean, we want to try and get more and more voices on this show as we go along, because like me and Doc, like, you know, we have our very set perspectives. You probably at this point know us all too well in terms of, well, I mean, like, hey, it's me getting things wrong every week. I'm only thinking what I expect and all that, you know? So we do want to keep doing that going forward and getting more people on for guest slots who can offer different perspectives and more nuanced opinions than either me or Doc can necessarily provide. So do look forward to that as we go along through this show and next. In this week, by the way, just to do a little bit of housework, we're going to be discussing off cast, myself and Doc, which next show we're going to be covering for Stream of Thought in the next season, because we're getting to that point now. And the fact that I even have to just think of Eizouken ending makes me feel very sad. But hey, good on Masaki Yuasa for doing Anime of the Year already, so I'd have to worry about that later. I'd have to think about it. Saves me the brain power. So look out for us talking about that. So
you know, I was looking at Annie List the other day, and like the top 5, maybe 6 shows that they listed were all sequels.
Do you want to just take a 3-month break, Doc? Fuck it.
Do retro edition where we do an episodic coverage of an old show. I've wanted to do this for some time.
Could be a plan. We'll discuss it all, folks, so you'll hear about that soon enough. In the meantime, if you're looking to support us, do feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Warui Deshou. You can get yourself access to our Discord. We run game nights in there. We also allow discussion of, like, you know, anime that we're watching. You can even, if you subscribe to the $3 tier or higher, get yourself in on asking us questions about shows as we cover them live. I mentioned before about how we're going to be picking a show for Stream of Thought for next season, but we also have our second stream podcast, which is currently on Jula Richard. And of course, that will be concluding soon as well. But unlike with our mainline,
another sad one.
Yeah, God, I know.
Don't want Julia Richard to end. It's so good. I love it.
Oh, I mean, if you're looking for an old one in that vein, I would either recommend Sweetness. Well, Doc, for you, Sweetness and Lightning, which is about a single father and his daughter bonding over cooking.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I love Sweetness and Lightning. So good.
But yeah, if you want to help us decide on what we're going to cover for second stream, become one of our patrons. You can get involved in that process. You can even ask us to cover a specific anime. There's tons of stuff. Just go check out the reward list on there. Do feel free to look at that, patreon.com/Warui Deshou. If otherwise you are wanting to help us on the free, that's perfectly fine as well. Just drop us a like, subscribe, comment, share, click bells, push buttons, you know, be a fine game player, mash hard, all that kind of thing. You know, all engagement we can get, particularly if it's constructive, is really, really helpful to us. So thank you very much for doing that if you do. Otherwise, I think that brings us to the end of the evening. Oh, by the way, Alex, for those of you who may have missed Alex's previous appearance on our Eizouken stream last week, would you be willing to tell us, Alex, where people can find you and what you do?
Yeah, you can find me at biod42 at Twitter. Or on allthemediamatters.wordpress.com. I mean, I'm a chef in Amsterdam, so you can usually just find me by going out and eating some good food. But the best way for like most people online to find me is through my writing on All Media Matters. Did some stuff about Ava, about Sound Euphonium. By the way, the Sound Euphonium new movie is incredible. It's
this, and you're not talking about Liz and the Bluebird, right? This is
also incredible.
Yeah. But you mean the other one?
I mean Os Finale, which is just it's. Do you know how you watch an anime movie and like, oh yeah, that's an anime movie of that series?
Mm-hmm.
What if Sound Euphonium got one and it was like the greatest victory lap you've ever seen?
Man, fuck.
Well, I think I might have to find out.
Need to see this. Have you watched season 2, Shadon, yet?
No,
I'm actually. Man, it's so good. It's
before Alex's head like twists itself off his neck there because he's stunned. I'm actually going to rewatch season 1 as well because I actually had some criticisms that, looking back, I think were completely and utterly unfair on my part about the show. I think I was looking at it too didactically in terms of like cottage industry criticism rather than just treating it the material it should have been. So I want to go through the whole.
Not enough action. Not enough explosion.
I'm not that bad.
Not enough sex.
Oh God.
I mean, now you're not wrong there. Like, clearly in episode 10, Reina and Kumiko, like they
should have been, could have been.
Right. Okay. Anyway, let's swiftly and decisively move on.
Look, once one girl tells another girl like she wants to peel her skin off, like that's it. That's the courtship ritual finished.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone. This is. Oh shit! I'm actually watching Bloom Into You at the moment, though, which is, funnily enough, like giving me Sound Euphonium vibes in some respects. But anyway, we'll discuss.
So good.
We'll discuss that another day. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this fine evening. You all look after yourselves. We'll see you next week to cover Eizouken number 10. By God, we're in double digits. That makes me really sad.
Eizouken. Had to be said. Someone had to say it.
Yes.
Embrace each other, everyone, to the ends of the universe.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.